My name is Daniel Beams, and I'm presenting this presentation in partial fulfillment of my degree in Masters of Music and Music Education with Campbellsville University. This is for class MUS520, fall semester 2017. And actually what we're going to be doing is presenting Quartet in A major. This is by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. It's considered K464, and it's number 18 in A major. Just a little bit of history about this piece. It is actually the fifth of six quartets that were dedicated to Joseph Haydn, the composer that Mozart was very familiar and friends with during the time, and it was completed in 1785, January 10th to be exact. And it actually consists of four different movements. The movements are Allegro, Minuetto and Trio, Andante, theme with variations, Allegro non troppo. Just a few characteristics about this particular string quartet in general is that there are several contrapuntal devices, and it actually served as a model for Beethoven's string quartet in A major, opus 18, number 5, because as it's well known that Beethoven was a student of Haydn's for a brief period of time and reflected some of Haydn's teachings in his music. And it's actually considered one of Mozart's longest quartets. So let's go ahead and take just a second and look at the first movement. In the first movement, there are several little motives or ideas, and each time that a new idea is presented, it eventually is revisited later throughout that movement, but it's done so that it is much more complex and developed. Again, there are several overlapping voices contrapuntally, and then during the development section, modulations and changes of texture make for a very nice contrast. There are two motives that appear right during the beginning, and then repetition always brings back variation, again, on these same ideas or small little motives. The formal development section takes place in 6/8 time, which is very characteristic of Mozart rhythmically throughout this entire string quartet. Looking at the second movement, which is Minuet, it's very simple and clever. There are two connected parts that eventually combine at the very end, and then a trio section in a different key. It is moderately paced, and the trio in itself is just a very nice and refreshing kind of contrast to the opening movement. The third theme, or the third movement, which is theme and variation, is a slower movement, and it consists of a centerpiece that is just really a nice addition to this whole quartet in general. It's a very rich theme with much longer variations. It consists mostly in the largely in the lower register. Has actually 6 variations with a coda, and eventually each instrument of the quartet is featured. And then the finale, which is very, very, very reflective of Haydn. It's marked Allegro non troppo, and it features fallen chromatic figures, usually with a response. It is in full-length sonata allegro form, and it is a nice closing to the the quartet.